I'm Margaret Fleming, and this is my dissertation on the experiences of Brevard Public Schools secondary career and technology education teachers participating in work-based learning programs. The renewal of the CAPE Act and the Perkins Act requires work-based learning methods to be integrated in career and technology education programs, also known as CTE. CTE programs offer an additional means of motivation for students to improve their attendance, academics, and graduate on time. Through the blending of real-world applications and academics, students often become more motivated and feel as if they have a sense of direction with their futures. The study took place in Brevard County, Florida. Brevard Public Schools, also known as BPS, is the 9th largest school district in the state, with 15 secondary schools, 40 CTE programs, and 9 career academies. To support both Perkins and CAPE, Florida state graduation requirements and BPS graduation requirements include a portion that focuses on the successful completion of a CTE industry certification. To meet the requirements of the most recent adoption of both the Carl D. Perkins Act and the CAPE Act, BPS was required to implement work-based learning in all secondary CTE programs to ensure they receive federal funding. The purpose of this dissertation and practice is to explore the experiences of BPS secondary CTE teachers regarding the process of finding internship placement for their students since the inception of the district's work-based learning initiative for CTE programs during the 2021-2022 school year. This study was guided by the following 3 research questions. What are the experiences of BPS secondary CTE teachers regarding the internship placement process since its inception in the 2021-2022 school year? What aspects of the internship placement process did BPS secondary CTE teachers view as being successful since its inception in the 2021-2022 school year? And what aspects of the internship placement process did BPS secondary CTE teachers view as needing improvement since its inception in the 2021-2022 school year? A sample screening survey was sent via FSU email to all 128 BPS secondary CTE teachers with a Qualtrics link asking teachers to answer questions to determine if they met the inclusion criteria for this study, which specified that participants must have a student who at least attempted to find internship placement during the 2021-2022 or 2022-2023 school year. Upon receipt of the responses collected from the screening survey, a confirmation email was sent to all participants confirming their willingness to participate in the study, along with additional instructions regarding the next steps, selecting availability dates to participate in an initial interview. Data collection began through initial interviews with 1 to 2 teachers based upon their availability. Initial interviews were conducted either in person or via Zoom at the preference of the participant and lasted anywhere between 5 and 25 minutes. All initial interviews were used for information gathering purposes to help form the questions necessary to complete focus groups. Upon completion of the initial interviews, participants were split into 2 focus groups based upon their preferred focus group time slot via a Sign Up Genius link shared with them. Both focus groups were conducted via Zoom and lasted between 60 and 90 minutes. First cycle coding was done using a list of a priori codes created from key terms used in the research questions. These a priori codes were used as a foundation for the second cycle coding. Second cycle coding was done using in vivo coding to gain an understanding of what the participant experienced. And lastly, pattern coding was done by using the a priori codes as parent codes of the in vivo coding to help identify themes from the data collected. Limitations to this study fell upon the number of BPS secondary CTE teachers willing to participate and time constraints. 2 hurricanes created a delay in getting not only participants, but also getting the initial interviews and focus groups scheduled. This delay did to an extent end up being favorable as more data was collected regarding the 2022-2023 school year since focus groups were conducted shortly before the end of the first semester. To work around these limitations, participants were given a variety of dates and times in which initial interviews and focus groups could be conducted. Participants were also given the option of having the initial interview conducted via Zoom or in person, with all focus groups being conducted via Zoom as a means to provide the utmost level of flexibility for participants. The presentation of the findings from this qualitative study will be organized by research question. All participant names were replaced by a number between a 1 and 8 to protect their identity and maintain confidentiality. School names were also replaced by a number between 1 and 7 to aid in a level of confidentiality. Research question 1. Theme 1. The evolution of the internship participation numbers. The overall increase in students obtaining internships each year seemed to indicate that this was due to teacher buy-in more than anything. Teachers with lower student participation numbers weren't as active with forming relationships with businesses who would hire interns. For example, participant 7 from school 3 noted that the interest from their students just wasn't there, and because of it, they didn't feel the need to even continue pushing for them to participate in the internship program. Whereas both participant 2 and participant 1 had an increase in participation and have been actively forming relationships with businesses in Brevard County that would hire students as interns. Participant 2 explained that they tried to keep a relationship with businesses close by, opening additional opportunities for students to get hired. Theme 2, the basics of the placement process. This showed that there was an inconsistency in how the work-based learning internship program was presented and the roles of those involved. Feedback collected from the participants showed that when the work-based learning internship program was presented to participants, each school had it presented to them differently. Ultimately, all were left with the impression that the district would oversee internship placement for their students. Quite a few of the participants were frustrated as it was clear to them that the district had not followed through with finding these kids internship placement. Theme 3, the internships that came before and how they've changed. 2 of the 8 participants had existing internship programs that evolved with a new program. During initial interviews, participant 1 made the comment that they've been doing this since 2014. Based upon this feedback, during both focus group participants were asked if their programs had internship opportunities available for their students prior to the inception of the most recent one in the 2021-2022 school year. Focus group data illuminated that participant 1 wasn't the only one with existing internship programs. Participant 7 explained that when they first started teaching at school 3 6 years ago, that there had been a requirement that students participate in an internship between their junior and senior year. After that first year, though, the program stopped requiring students participate in an internship, as it was never a good alignment between what the students were trying to pursue and the jobs that were available. Participant 3 offers in-house internship opportunities to their students, but with the new work-based learning internship program, they were now also able to offer opportunities for their students to turn their after-school jobs into internship opportunities. Participant 1 has continuously offered internship opportunities for their students, with their program adapting to any changes implemented by BPS, showing that their program was able to grow and adapt to include the new opportunities available to students. Research question 2, theme 1. Internships prepare students for the real world. Students were able to practice interviewing, creating resumes, and learning how to find jobs. Participants explained that their students weren't always just handed internships, that they had to work to get their internships as they would if they were applying to a real job. When students requested internships, not only did they need to supply resumes, but in some cases, they also had to interview for the position. If students didn't submit resumes in a timely manner, they risked missing out on opportunities. Additionally, if businesses felt that upon interviewing a student that they weren't a good fit, then they wouldn't offer the student that position. In some instances, the internships led to not only job opportunities after graduation, but also provided a way for students to get help with getting their college paid for. Theme 2, the support from local businesses is growing. Participants and local businesses are working together to find students internships despite age limits. One of the largest hurdles that students face when being placed with internships was the age requirement that most businesses had. Despite this age restriction, though, through the efforts of participants and the relationships they're beginning to form with local businesses, many businesses are working to find loopholes so they can bring students in as interns despite being under 18. Participant 1 explained they weren't new to internship programs, and because of this, they were able to really put forth the effort to work with businesses to find ways to work around students being under 18. Research question 3, theme 1, why things didn't work out. Participant 4 explained that many of their students were uninterested in even applying for an internship simply because they didn't have a way to get themselves there. They noted that not only did their students not have reliable transportation, but even many of their seniors didn't drive due to not having a driver's license. Students also tended to have schedule conflicts with their academic courses or extracurriculars. With the current internship structure, students may either come to school 2 class periods late or leave 2 class periods early, which is not overly conducive to a typical work schedule with the students' hours of availability not providing much work time based upon the typical business hours of most companies. Participant 4 shared that most of their students participated in a sport and felt they would ultimately have to choose between having an internship or participating in their sport. They explained that the kids who needed to work would work, but the vast majority didn't need to work. Instead, they put their primary focus on their grades and not overextending themselves so they could enjoy their high school experience. When asked what participants felt was the largest obstacle that students faced with finding internship placement, almost all of them stated the fact that most students were under the 18 was the key problem. This was due to insurance and security clearance issues, causing many businesses to not be willing to hire interns under the age of 18. Theme 2, when the teachers can't do it all. Participants felt the district provided little support and minimal guidance regarding the work-based learning internship program. Participant 3 explained that it seemed like whenever they needed guidance or assistance, they were passed from one person to the next, that whenever they would work their way down the chain of command, that the next person typically didn't know any more than the first person they talked to. Participant 1 also expressed the importance of having someone helping that knows the ins and outs of the industries employing BPS secondary CTE students. That it needs to be not only someone who knows the CTE programs, but also knows Brevard County so that they can best help the teachers and students. The consensus being that a lead CTE teacher for either each secondary CTE program or school would really help ensure that the needs of the interns and companies involved are being met. Another solution suggested by participant 3 was to have a school-wide / district-wide meeting with all CTE programs and whoever's involved with them, providing an opportunity for all involved to be on the same page. Theme 3, looking at the end goal for the student. The importance of CTE programs and the importance of a post-secondary education have both grown. Only the two have not mutually grown together, impacting work-based learning internship programs. Over the years, the mindset has shifted from preparing students for careers to instead preparing them for some sort of post-secondary education. Only in the meantime, as participant 7 noted, the academics have become so important due to the decades of telling students that everybody has to go to college, that now when students are presented with an opportunity that doesn't point to college, they're not interested. Instead, more often than not, both the parents and the students view participation in a CTE program as another item to add to their resume in order to boost their chances of getting into college. Implications. Teacher frustration and support. Since teachers weren't involved in the planning process, most felt that there just wasn't enough clarity and support when it came to work-based learning internship programs. There was confusion over who at the district level was responsible for what versus what the teacher was responsible for. One of the biggest things that's come from the study is the recognition that there are more key players involved in the implementation of the work-based learning internship program than perhaps BPS prepared themselves for. Involving the teachers more in the process will enable the work-based learning internship program to grow while empowering the teachers into feeling as if they're equally important to the success of the program. Creating a bridge. Due to the increase in the importance of the post-secondary education, most students are using internships as another item to add to their resumes to make them stand out more to post-secondary institutions instead of creating future career opportunities upon graduation. Another issue that became apparent was that while the vocational tech programs of the past were geared to work hand in hand with local businesses, the CTE programs of today are not. The time slots students are provided in which to participate in internships are not necessarily conducive to typical business hours in which an employer would want to hire an intern. Additionally, insurance requirements are typically much stricter than they were at the time of vocational tech programs of the past, making it much more difficult for businesses to hire students under the age of 18, which is the age of the average senior in high school. Recommendations. Number 1, create a panel of BPS secondary CTE teachers to ensure the needs of the teachers and students are being met. One of the things voiced the most by the participants in the study was that they felt like they weren't involved and their opinions weren't heard. Those who did voice their recommendations felt as if everything they said had just been ignored. A workshop needs to be put on by the director of CTE in which a panel of teachers could work together to provide their feedback, recommendations, and overall become integral in the further growth of the work-based learning internship program. This would ensure adequate buy-in from the teachers involved, creating a larger number of students interested in participating, as there would be a larger push by teachers. Number 2, invite local businesses to discuss their needs and what they view as an ideal intern. During the focus group, one of the participants suggested holding what would be essentially a career fair, only in the reverse. BPS could set up tables and booths for all the different secondary CTE programs offered. The programs could be separated out by schools so the businesses could come through and speak to the schools in their area, targeting the programs that would benefit their businesses the most. This would help form the missing connection between letting local businesses know what the various CTE programs could offer them, while opening up an opportunity for the businesses to also voice how the CTE program could help them and what they're looking for in an intern. Number 3, hire a lead CTE teacher for each school subject or by geographical area within Brevard County. The goal would be having someone there to help facilitate internship placement, oversee required timesheets, reflections, and visiting internship sites to ensure that all interns and businesses employing interns are doing what they're supposed to be doing. The idea being that the lead CTE teacher would know the CTE programs and the schools or students involved instead of relying upon the work-based learning specialist who wouldn't have the same rapport with the students or schools or the knowledge of what is required of the CTE programs and know if a business would be the right fit for an intern. This would allow the work-based learning specialist to focus on bringing more businesses in to hire interns while delegating out much of the school or program-specific work to the lead CTE teacher. Number 4, involve post-secondary institutions and linking internships with post-secondary success. One of the observations made by multiple participants was that there needed to be a bridge connecting internships with not only the career goals of BPS secondary CTE students, but also their post-secondary academic goals. Currently, there are matriculation agreements between Eastern Florida State College, EFSC, and BPS secondary CTE programs that let students receive college credits for industry certifications that they've earned, linking their program with the CTE programs, encouraging students to continue with their post-secondary education at EFSC. By getting EFSC involved in the development of the work-based learning program and even involved in the career fairs with local businesses, a bridge can be formed connecting internships, post-secondary education, and the career goals of BPS secondary CTE students. In summary, this was a qualitative case study that explored the experiences of BPS secondary CTE teachers regarding the student internship placement process since its inception in the 2021-2022 school year. Semi-structured initial interviews and focus groups with 8 BPS secondary CTE teachers were used. Analysis was conducted using in vivo to apply a priori coding, in vivo coding, and pattern coding. BPS secondary CTE teachers felt overall frustrated and unsupported by the district as there was a lack of clarity and consistency. Some solutions to this will be involving teachers in the development of the work-based learning internship program, increasing teacher buy-in, which is something that's integral and needs to be encouraged. Additionally, they need to hire a lead CTE teacher to try and help take some of the pressure and responsibility off of teachers. A bridge needs to be created linking not only the post-secondary career goals of students, but also their post-secondary academic goals. Work needs to be done with local businesses to make sure BPS is meeting their needs and expectations of what they want from interns. Additionally, work needs to be done with local post-secondary institutions to ensure that we are meeting the post-secondary academic goals of BPS secondary CTE students. In order to share my findings with key stakeholders, I plan to share my study via email with an invitation to host a Zoom meeting where I can further present my findings through a slideshow while providing an opportunity to clarify any questions that stakeholders may have after reading the complete study. Findings will be shared with the BPS Director of CTE and the Work-Based Learning Specialist first, so they have the opportunity to provide feedback prior to the Zoom meeting. I will also invite all participants to this meeting so they have the opportunity to provide additional feedback directly to the stakeholders, as by the time the study is completed, a semester worth of new data will be available that would perhaps be beneficial to have before heading into the 2023-2024 school year.